Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag and drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show.
I needed weights to pin me down to the bottom.
Hi, everybody. This is, we call this show The Next Reel. And we're glad you could join us for The Next Reel. I'm Pete Wright, and there's Andy Nelson right over there.
Hello.
Across the room.
Hello.
Hello. And so the thing is, what do we talk about on this show? We talk about movies. We talk about one movie every week. That's what we do. If you want to find out all the great ways to contact us, just head over to thenextreel.com/contact. And you can email us, you can call us, you can tweet us, you can do whatever you want. And so that'd be great. You can also subscribe to the show on iTunes if you're not listening live, which you can also do at thenextreel.com/live. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, and you can get it the next day. It usually goes up Friday mid-morning, sometime-ish. And you can have something to listen to while you're doing the lawn work, like our friend Steve.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's it. Tonight we are continuing our session, our series on original sci-fi. Very excited about this conversation.
Oh, me too.
And I hope you're more excited than you were last week, because you were a little bit snotty.
I was not. I am very excited about it. I have some issues, but I'm still excited.
Do you know what the word is for you? Persnickety. I've been thinking about that all day. You're a persnickety viewer of some of these films.
Well, I guess I can't argue with that.
You seen anything good this week?
Yes.
What?
I've been catching up on some films from last year, and I watched, finally, The Raid Redemption.
The Raid Redemption. I haven't even heard of this. What is this magical film of which you speak?
It's a fantastic film that oddly is almost identical to Dread. It's like the same film.
That is really sad.
No, but it's not, because it's more of an Asian version with just nonstop, like I don't know if it's kung fu or karate or whatever it is, but it's pretty kick-ass.
Is that an ironic tribute to this film that you saw?
No, it was a very exciting tribute.
Given the trailer that we want to talk about tonight?
Well, yes, in that sense it is, I guess.
You are ironic.
The funny thing about, let me say this though, the funny thing about The Raid is it's directed by a Scottish guy, Gareth Evans, who I don't know how he ended up making this kind of this kung fu action film. But lo and behold, there he is making it, and he did an amazing job. I highly recommend The Raid. Absolutely fantastic film. And watch Dread. They're both great, fun films.
I told you I watched Dread, right? Didn't we talk about that?
No, you didn't tell me that.
Oh, yeah, I watched it. Because of you.
And?
I'm a persnickety viewer of Dread.
Oh, my goodness.
I had just a little much. When you're trying to be that guy, you're trying to be Christian Bale. You're trying to be, what's his name? The first Batman in the Tim Burton. What was his name?
Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton. You're trying to be Michael Keaton. I'm Batman. You're trying to do the gravel thing.
Oh, I thought he did it so much better than either of them. Like, he was Dread the whole way through. Carl Urban was
not Dread. You are must have been sedated when that movie was playing in your head. There was some sort of altered chemical effect in you that he was not Dread the whole way through. You may know him as Dread, but he'll always be Bones to me.
Wow, look at that. We've both had little segues to trailers, haven't we? Whoa.
And that wasn't even the trailer I was going to talk about this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to talk about something else you discovered that you sent me this email, and I think it's we as a good deed to our
I wanted to talk
listeners.
about that too.
Holy smokes, that is the most useful thing ever.
Isn't it?
Go ahead. You tell the world, Andrew.
This is a website that I found through our friends over at Flickchart. It's a website called realorfake3d.com. And basically it lists, if you're wondering which film is it that is shot with real 3D cameras as opposed to the fake 3D where they come in afterward to make it look like 3D just to make a buck, and you get upset because you go to see this 2D conversion and it just looks like just garbage. This is the website that you can go to, and it goes through every film all the way back through really 1952. They really go back. They're definitely missing
let's just
a
say
lot,
it's not a long list in 1952. I've never actually seen Buona Devil.
But and I will say though, they are really missing a lot of the films from the heyday of 50s back in or heyday of 3D films back in the 50s. Right. There's a lot of 3D films that were made back then that they don't have. I mean, they really start being accurate, I guess you could say, probably about in the 2000s, 2003 and up. That's when they really start. And then 2006 is when the fake 3D came in and really just started making a mess of everything.
Do you ever, so to stay on topic.
Stay on target.
Coming up, what I thought was interesting. There are some films that I thought were interesting and surprised me. So, obviously, films like Jurassic Park that were shot, decades ago, they're coming back in 2013, and they are in fake 3D.
Sure.
But films like Iron
Man
Man
of
3,
Steel.
Man of Steel,
Pacific Rim,
G.I. Joe Retaliation, all of these are...
Even Star Trek.
I know. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Yeah. I was really disappointed.
Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. Thor, the second Thor film, and of course the Wolverine. All of these films, I would have thought they were, they were really
real 3D.
They were real 3D. That they were going to put some great effort into it. And what equally surprising, The Great Gatsby,
is real 3D.
Is real 3D. Yeah, exactly. The One Direction concert movie, I think, is...
I was hoping for that.
What?
You know what else I found surprising?
Spiders 3D?
This actually doesn't have anything to do with the 3D aspect, but just the fact that in 2013, there are 3 Oz movies. There's Oz the Great and Powerful, which we discussed in our film board last week.
At length, exhaustive length.
There's Dorothy of Oz coming out in 2013.
What is that? Do you know what is that?
In real 3D, and The Wizard of Oz coming out in fake 3D in 2013.
Now, is The Wizard of Oz, I don't know what they're doing. Is that the movie? Is that a remake of The Wizard of Oz, or is that...
I think it's the
original Wizard of Oz.
And they're doing a 3D conversion of it.
Oh, goodness, people. Go make new movies.
No, the movie Dorothy of Oz is an animated musical that's coming out in October. Well, no, when is it coming out? It just right now says October. Coming out in 2013. I don't know when. It looks bad just looking at the poster. I don't know what to expect of it. Leah Michele and Patrick Stewart are voices in it. Hugh Dancy, Dan Aykroyd, Martin Short, Kelsey Grammer, James Belushi. It's got a big cast, so who knows?
Seriously.
Maybe I don't know. I can't imagine it's going to be good.
The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, and The Hobbit There and Back Again, 2013, 2014, back to back, real 3D. If you couldn't have predicted that, I think it would be even better though if he had just done straight up 2D, just changed his mind.
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, that'd be great.
Backtrack a little bit.
Did you see that? Did I talk about that Saturday Night Live thing about
The Hobbit?
So. The one where Gandalf tries to remember the name of an elf he once knew. Part 8.
Awesome.
That is an incredibly useful tool, real or fake 3D. People, you should bookmark that if you are into movies, and if there is a better service out there, please let us know. Any other notes from the week? What do we have? Any notes?
I don't have any notes.
This was from last week. Nicolas Cage Roulette.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic fun. I tried it and I ended up with Scorsese. I got I'm blanking on it, but the ambulance driver movie. What's that called?
Oh yeah, the one with the upside down trailer shot.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Shot, at least. I enjoyed that movie. It wasn't my favorite.
Did you?
But I thought it was just interesting.
I just pray for Season of the Witch, or
it's like, come on,
give me one of those.
No whammies.
No whammies. How about Gone in 60 Seconds, man? Or I could watch Wind Talkers again and again and again.
Bringing Out the Dead. That's what that was.
Bringing Out the Dead. That's right.
Yeah, good old. No, it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun little
really
tool.
Fun. Let's see other notes and links of note. There have been some great links of note on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thenextreel. You should check it out. We've got some just great links and trivia that you should check out between our episodes. So make sure to like us over there. And thanks as always to all of our new listeners. What trailers you got tonight? What do you want to talk about? I know you were conflicted.
I was conflicted. Yeah, I think I'll jump on the Kick-Ass 2 official Red Band trailer that was just released. I enjoyed the first one. It didn't wow me as much as I was really hoping it to. Oh. As much as I was hoping it would. You think I'm drinking, but really it's just water, I swear.
The thing about this trailer, okay, so the trailer is good, and the thing about the movie is that, it's got all the right people in it again.
It looks interesting. It looks like more of the same from the first one. They're just taking everything and they're just giving you more of it, more of the swearing and kick-assery and.
This time it's Jim Carrey is Colonel Stars and Stripes. He has a dog. The Aaron Taylor Johnson is kick-ass and always great. I think the real kind of celebration of kick-ass, though, the real kind of the thing that really took it over the edge the first time for me was what's it?
Was it Hit Girl?
Chloe Grace
Moretz. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she just her role in general is that having that young girl play such a shocking character involved in such violence,
right,
and just foul mouthery. She's getting older.
Yeah.
And so you no longer have that kind of context shift, that context shock where, that's a young girl who's not supposed to be doing those things.
Right. Now it's a teenager who's gotten lip implants and is going to be playing Carrie, we already know. And she's already kind of gone past that line, and it's just not shocking anymore.
Yeah, it's not shocking anymore. And I think she and so I don't know if it necessarily has the same kind of pull for me that the first one did. I deeply enjoyed Kick-Ass. I think the second time I saw it. The first time I went in just having no idea or having an expectation of what it was, and it was not that film. And then I feel like I grew to understand it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the second one will deliver.
I hope it does. I'm not super excited by the trailer. It intrigues me though.
You know what it is? This is different than the what did we talk about last week? It was the trilogy of the crazy Las Vegas thing where Las Vegas is burning. Hangover 3, right? It's not like Hangover 2 where I just wanted more Hangover and Hangover 2 delivered. Right. I finished with Kick-Ass and I was done.
Yeah.
I didn't need any more.
Apparently some people wanted more of the same because it looks like more of the same. I mean, you got all the same characters, you got the same bad guy.
That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about. So I don't know. I feel like I'm sort of cheating since we've already alluded to the Star Trek, the new Star Trek trailer. So I'll just say you should go watch it because it's great.
It's very short. It's just a teaser again.
Yeah. Well, no, there was one that was, I guess 2 weeks ago now, that was the super big 2.5 minute trailer, right? And then I guess maybe I haven't seen the trailer, but you should go watch it. The one I am just captivated by is The Girl, David Riker's film. That is, I think, opened last Friday, or this just on the 8th, I believe. And I have not seen it, but it's let's see, Abby Cornish is down and out woman who is really struggling and has no money and is estranged from her family, and she ends up becoming a what do they call it? You live in Arizona. Is it like a border mule?
Yeah, like a coyote is what they call them.
Coyote. Yeah, right. Border mule is the drugs, I think.
Yeah, that's where she would be. Yeah, she would be actually smuggling drugs across the border.
Smuggling drugs. In this case, she is driving. She's smuggling immigrants. That's a coyote. I'm so glad you're involved here.
Yes, involved is probably not the right word, but
I'm so glad you're so intimately into the industry. That's what I think the word is. There have been a number of trailers for this. I am just captivated. I think it's very moving. It's one of those that I don't know I'll be able to actually go see because I'll be a red hot mess.
Yeah.
This is, I think, one worth catching at some point. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Abby Cornish is really kind of proving herself these days. She's just kind of popping up everywhere, isn't she?
She really is. She really is. And Will Patton is always fun to watch, and kind of has that William Fichtner kind of character actor vibe to him.
He's one of those guys that he has to be in the right role for me, or I have a hard time watching him.
Yeah.
I think that all stemmed from your favorite Kevin Costner movie, The Postman.
One of these days, we're going to do a series of The Postman and Waterworld.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
Apocalyptic movies that should have ended the world.
That should have ended the world. That's right. We were rooting for the apocalypse. That's the series. Are you kidding?
Oh yeah.
That's the thought that we've got to. I'm making a note. Series.
That we got to put that up as a list at least.
Where we root for the world to end. The apocalypse.
While we watch the film, we secretly are hoping for the apocalypse.
Please just end it for these sad sack people. That's what we're hoping for. I wrote that down. Okay.
Jumping back to the girl real quick, though.
Yes.
This is just a very strange note, but on IMDb, it has the full cast list in credits order, and Abby Cornish is at the very bottom, and it says rest of cast listed alphabetically. She's there. Even though she's the lead, that's where they put her.
That's funny.
IMDb is on the ball. That's awesome.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's all right.
I about to spout something very wise.
No, I wasn't. I'll tell you, I wasn't. What I was going to say is, you know what? Goodness. G.I. Joe Retaliation, have they been teasing that thing for 2 years?
I feel like I've seen the whole movie already.
I do too. And every time I go to IMDb, it's like front page. Let it go. Enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of it already. Sick of it.
I'm reading your mail.
Okay. Should we talk about this movie?
Yes.
All right.
Let's do it.
So deep, this movie.
It is a deepie, isn't it?
So deep.
Is that a word?
It's a deepie.
Does that deflate some of the deepness?
It is certainly, there's a lot of depth to this movie. I love this movie. And you know what? You sent me an email, and it was about the recipe for a science fiction film. Right?
Yeah.
Tell me about where that comes from, because I think that is a great preface to a conversation about this movie.
Well, Danny Boyle, he was mentioning it. He said that, there's three things that are at the core to most great sci-fi films. You've got to have a ship, a crew, and a message that they receive that throws things into kind of the inciting incident of the film, if you will, the thing that pushes them into the story. So those three things really, you look at Alien, you look at, 2001, you look at, all those other films with messages that I'm blanking on.
Those films.
Those other ones,
yeah.
They all have them and they're all great. But no, it's interesting because it's that message. Everything seems to be going fairly normally, and then a message comes in. Star Trek, that's the one I was thinking of, the original one, the message from V'ger, where they start pursuing the message, and that throws them into a situation that then they have to deal with. And that's a perfect example of what happens here in Sunshine.
It's such an interesting. I think it is interesting. The other thing that I think is kind of right on track with that is that he speaks at length about the potential to be trapped in these science fiction, these interstellar science fiction stories, elements, right? That these movies, 2001 and Alien and Solaris, Tarkovsky's Solaris, are always they're always looming over your head as you're making one of these, a film in this genre, and it's inescapable. And so, to me, as I watch Sunshine, I happen to love it. I love the elements of it. I love the how it, sort of the visual style of Alwyn Kuchler, and how it sort of pays homage to Blade Runner, just in the way they frame faces, and the way they play with light and the way they play with distortion. But I can also see how people would say, gosh, those are, that's not an homage anymore. Because for a while, when you see the crew sit down at the table for the first time and they're all, having their casual conversation, and the way they play with audio and the way they play with the table that kind of lights up from the bottom, that's alien. I mean, that's as alien as you get.
Right.
And yet for me, I think the story, the message, is powerful enough that I'm along for the ride the whole way through.
Well, and I think they were very smart in the production of this film, which came out in 2007, in that they really went to great lengths to create it as scientifically accurate as they really could, with some caveats here and there. They had Brian Cox, a scientific consultant and I believe a professor at Manchester in college or something. I can't remember where he is. He works at what's the name of that big thing where they have the accelerator particle accelerator thing, CERN. Yeah, he works out at CERN and stuff. He came on board to kind of be the scientific advisor and just very detail in making sure that they were as accurate as they could, with, like I said, caveats like artificial gravity and some things like that really aren't possible yet. Nobody's really figured that out. But by grounding it in this reality, and grounding, essentially the story is one that's grounded in reality. It's not like they're flying out to meet aliens somewhere or anything like that. It's a simple story of our sun is dying. We need to create something that can basically jumpstart it so that our world doesn't end. It's a kind of a simple story, and that's it. It's all very kind of scientifically based, really. I mean, aside from the fact that, the sun itself dying isn't really going to happen for probably about 5 million years. This scientist, Brian Cox, came up with this very elaborate reason as to, okay, if the story takes place 50 years in the future, what could it be? And he came up with a very scientific explanation as to something that really could happen that would cause the sun to just kind of to fade out and die. By keeping it grounded in that realism all the way through, and the effects fit right in with that, because the effects in this, I mean, when I saw this, I just remember thinking how phenomenal they were from beginning to end. Just really stellar effects. It just keeps you grounded in that reality all the way through, and it makes it feel that much more authentic. And I think by using those tools, even though there may be those homages and those bumps up against those big classic films, he really is creating a film here that stands on its own, I feel.
No, I really agree with you. To me, it feels very sort of, it feels, insofar as they have this beautiful ship flying through space, it still feels very mechanical, very practical, right? Mm-hmm. And you sort of walk through the ship and you get this feeling that every element is used for something, right? You don't have this, there's nothing that is really sort of decorative to me. It just feels very practical. Even in some of the more gorgeous set elements, like the greenhouse,
the oxygen garden,
the oxygen garden is a gorgeous set element, but it's also very practical with the scrubbers and just the white against the green of the plants that she picks in the first act is just all very, very beautiful, but still very practical. And that sort of sets this, it grounds the film in reality when you look at the kinds of things that are breaking. When one of the elements I think that really speaks to that I love so much is when, what is his name? Who was making the corrections?
Stereo,
was it Sonata?
Trey.
Trey was making the corrections because they decided that they were going to go check out the ship that they had thought previously was lost.
Right.
And there's a loud crunching noise. And they all run in, and he's like in tears. He said, "I screwed up. I made a mistake." And that was one of those elements that I think was that sequence and the captain's response, played by Hiroyuki Sanada as Captain Kaneda, was, I think, one of the most sort of human and practical responses. That, you know what, we're not dead. We're just going to move forward. And yet, Trey never quite, as the navigator, he never quite recovered from that incident. And what broke, again, sort of lending that sort of practical element, is the shields. The shields stopped working in one segment, and that leads to one of the most intense mechanical rescue or mechanical sort of fix sequences that I think I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, aside from the great character performances, that then leads to one of the most beautiful CG sequences that I've seen in ages. In fact, almost every CG sequence in this film is just stunning.
Gorgeous.
I mean, you really can't argue watching this in the best format possible. I mean, it's just such a stunning film to look at. But when the captain is out there and he's trying to get this fixed, and he knows he's not going to be able to in time for the sun before the sunlight hits, and he turns, and just as the sun is coming back over the shield, and you just have this wave of this solar energy that is just this gorgeous, like, red tidal wave, red and orange and yellow, and as it just kind of plows into him, I mean, it really is beautiful in the most horrifying way.
It is, as you watch, kind of being engulfed by color, and I think that's that's one of those visual elements that I found really appealing. The way Boyle plays with cold and hot, and how to visualize cold and hot throughout the movie. That what we have is, every time we see cold, it is incredibly painful. Right? Usually it's involved in the coolant or out in space. And in space, after they're trying to, get back from the Icarus to the Icarus II, and they have to do that emergency evacuation without suits at what is it, minus 237 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's cold. Pretty cold. And you watch them freeze. You watch the characters open their eyes and have that little and then their faces freeze solid. That is horrifying and grotesque. And when you see Chris Evans as Mace reach into the coolant to rescue the wrench, he pulls his fist out, and it's just his fist is, you can tell he's just in incredible pain, having reached into that coolant and trying to save his hand. And every time you look at, I mean, even when we're introduced to the idea of heat, it's through this shield, and watching these characters try to push the limits of what they can take in terms of being so close to the sun in this observation deck that it is a thing that they are yearning for more of, that they are mesmerized by, and yet it is this thing that ultimately, does them in. Yeah, and I think that dichotomy makes it even more kind of horrifying when they die as a result of that heat, because they've almost been lured to it. It's sort of a siren song,
which is a great thing to say about it when you see how obsessed a couple of the characters come with sitting in the observation deck, watching the sun, testing the limits as to how high they can open the screen, to see how much of the actual sun they can absorb. It really is like, staring into God or whatever whatever you want to call it. It has that feel to it, and there is this I guess a natural draw to doing something like that. And I have a feeling that being in a situation like that, where you are trapped in a spaceship for as long as they are, I mean, if they didn't have that observation deck to go look at the sun, there certainly would probably be a lot of conflict and all that. And I mean, they probably would find a way to get some sunlight into the ship, just because people naturally need that sunlight. It helps with just functioning. and sanity. But if they didn't have it set that way, I mean, you got to wonder why they would have an observation deck that would, open up so high. I mean, I guess it would make sense if they're, back by Earth or something, and they have it at a much more normal level where they get more regular sun. But still, it's like you got to wonder the smartness of that. But then again, I guess they didn't really know. They didn't know what went wrong with Icarus 1.
Well, and that gets to the sort of primary antagonism of the latter half of the film. And I think you originally you didn't like the way it played out.
Well, and let's get to that in just 1 sec. I just want to say one last thing about what you were talking about with the color and everything. I think that the filmmakers also very smartly, when they did the production design on the ship, planned it in such a way where they limited all kind of the reds, oranges, yellows, and they really made it green, blue, gray.
Yeah, right.
Just tried to keep that. So when you do see the sun, it is such a much more drastic contrast to the world that we've been living in the rest of the time. And it's very smart of the filmmakers to do that. So we get that difference between the two. And like you said, it allows for that balance between the coldness of and really kind of the coldness of science and the kind of the warmth of nature.
Well, and that gets to the production design of the ship itself, right? I mean, the design of the ship is I think really interesting. It's like an umbrella. It looks like an umbrella, and the big part of the umbrella, the actual sort of canopy of the umbrella, the top of it is the heat shielding element, and then the body of the umbrella and the big hollow section is the bomb, where, according to the lore of the film, they mined all of Earth's fissile material for this one bomb to go restart the sun, and that's their mission, to send this bomb into the sun.
There are 2 bombs.
Well, yeah, the second, right. So Icarus 2 is the second bomb, and they have a first bomb on Icarus. And the back of the ship, down the handle, is, those are the living quarters and the communication towers and the oxygen garden. And so here we have this ship that's designed, the brute forceness of it, the kind of the brooding masculine musculature of the ship is this kind of brainless shield from all of this heat that all of the sort of the cold intellectuals are kind of hiding from, and yet they yearn to see every time they get a chance to see it. I think the ship is such a beautiful physical manifestation of the psychology that the characters are struggling to as they adapt through the course of the film. And I think that's one of the elements of the kind of physical design of this whole production, and how well it works with the actual sort of dramatic arc of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And, scientifically speaking, the scientist, Brian Cox, said the ship would probably be something like this. Like, they've actually designed some ships. They've never obviously built it, but they've designed some ships to go as close to the sun as they could. And they're very kind of either kind of this umbrella shape or conical front, something that will shield them from the heat of the sun.
Right.
And he said it's absolutely a very kind of accurate design that they ended up coming up with for this.
Well, insofar as I hope we never have to send a bomb to the sun.
Right.
Okay, where I was about to change that, and then you had your one more thing. What was I talking about?
You were going to jump to the end.
Well, and not even the end, but I guess the end, sort of the second half of the film. What we get in the second half of the film, this is where we get into our what is largely the Heart of Darkness parallel.
Mm-hmm.
So the Icarus 2,
or you could say the Heart of Lightness.
You could. One could say that.
It's a little more fitting.
Yeah, all right. It's a little more fitting. Okay, so the Icarus 1, that's what the Icarus 2, the story surrounds the Icarus 2 and the crew of the Icarus 2 going to do the second bomb. The reason they have to shoot this thing to blow it is because the Icarus 1 failed. But they don't know why it failed. The ship was lost.
Mm-hmm.
So as the Icarus 2 is getting closer to the sun, they hear the lilting sounds of the beacon, the rescue beacon from the Icarus 1, that the ship is still out there somewhere, and they find it. And they make the decision to find it. There's a lot of action, and then they find it. And what they learn over the course of kind of discovering the ship is that the captain, Captain Pinbacker, went bonkers.
Yep.
And he ended up deciding that his mission was not to blow up the sun to restart it, but that it was the will of God that all humanity should die. Right. He ends up killing everybody on the ship, and then it turns out he doesn't die himself. He's just floating around in this Icarus One. And he becomes the crazy zealot, sun-baked, crisped, killer for the back half of the movie. Mm-hmm. What is it about that you possibly would not like?
Okay, well...
Okay, I set you up with that. I know that there is a window of there's a range of things you might not like about it. But I yield the floor, Senator.
Okay, I really thought about this time because it bothers me every time I watch it. And it still bothers me, and I'm like, what is bothering me so much about it? I really, really enjoy the story. I really enjoy the character. I enjoy the things he says. I enjoy everything about it.
You're talking about Pinbacker now?
Pinbacker.
Okay.
Pinbacker. I enjoy all of the stuff going on. What I don't enjoy is the directing style that Danny Boyle chose to use for everything having to do with Pinbacker. I find it so distracting and hard to watch that it frustrates me because I feel like there was a better, more enjoyable, more psychologically thoughtful ending to the film if he hadn't opted to use his little lens tricks to create this like blurring effect every time you see Pinbacker, so that it looks just like he's this like distorting thing all the time. Danny Boyle himself said that he wanted to go that way. He wanted to kind of step out of reality and kind of create this, I don't know, kind of create this idea of this guy that he had been exposed to so much light that basically it was almost like he had been changed and distorted himself, and it was almost like he was emanating all these strange forces. Now, I thought that was a bunch of bunk. I really like everything going on with Pinbacker except for that, and it makes it hard to watch because I really just want to enjoy the interaction between the two characters. And I've got this crazy like industrial grinding noise every time he's showing, paired with this awful blurring of him that just makes it hard for me to focus on everything else that's going on.
Okay. No, you said it. I'm glad you got that off your chest. And I'm actually really glad that you said it the way you said it, because I think it's important to separate the crazy killer aspect from the production aspect of it. I mean, like you say, the story, you like the story, you like the presentation of or you like the way the drama resolves,
yeah,
and the thriller resolves, but not. And in that respect, I think I agree with you on some level. It doesn't bug me. It doesn't bug me that much that I can't get past it. But I will say, the first time I saw it, I wasn't sure what his motivation was because I couldn't quite understand him.
Yeah.
And I think the more I have kind of invested in the film, and the more I watch the film, the more I sort of pay attention to the film, the more I get out of it. And I can see why that would be a deal breaker for people on the first view. Like why, as you said, why it feels like it falls apart in the third act. It's the introduction of this whole new kind of visual aesthetic
to a film that up till now,
it only exists around this single character,
right? And up till now, everything has been so scientific and so honest to reality, and then to just break from reality at that point, just because of this character, it doesn't make sense to me at all. And I feel like Danny Boyle really, in some way, betrayed the film a little bit. I can't buy what he did.
Well, I think that's a little bit strong. I don't find it a betrayal. I think that one of the, again, we talk about the way all of the elements in the film really play together. And so much of the film is like this beautiful puzzle that just comes together so nicely. And when you look at the psychology and the philosophy of the film in terms of how, what Sunshine is introducing us to is, these people who are functionally captive, and what happens when they become, physically captive to this container, that there is this tin can shooting through space, and psychologically captive with their relationships, both inside their own head and with the rest of the crew, that introduces you to this darkness. And I think Boyle's, I think what I get from Boyle's decision here is to say this character of Pinbacker is going to be an exercise in the gap between what is sanity and what is absolutely insane. Both physically insane because he's horribly disfigured, and mentally insane. And I like that that he chose to use that sort of the camera trickery, the distortion, to illustrate even further that this guy is an exercise in the gap.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, I watch it. And I think it makes it more horrifying. As they move into more close-ups, more eyeball shots, more looking through little slits in windows. I think it makes it more horrifying, and a more horrifying indicator that more horrifying stuff is coming.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I mean, I like everything about the ending. I like that Apocalypse Now sort of journey up the river, journey to the sun, only to find, this ship that should have been gone, but is there with this crazy captain who feels that he's kind of become one with God, or become like the last man that God wants to be there, before God destroys everything or whatever it is. I find that just so fascinating, and the ideas of that, and the psychology of what being out there alone, certainly, but even just with a crew of 7, can really do with you, to your mind, when you're out there for so long on this journey to the sun, to our star, to this amazing force at the center of our universe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just so fascinating, and everything going on with Pinbacker, the things he says, everything about it, I think is just genius, except for the camera tricks.
I like the way you said you framed that. I think visually there are a few elements in there that I think are particularly humbling. The big one for me is when the lovely pilot calls everybody forward. Yeah, Rose Byrne calls everybody forward and says, "Hey, you guys want to see something?" And they all gather in the observation deck, and the captain introduces them to Mercury.
Yeah.
And it is tiny.
Yeah.
In comparison, just by, sort of where they are in relation to the sun, as Mercury kind of passes between them, this little quarter-sized thing that floats between them. And they are all so, they're all just sort of reverent, silent. It's just a sequence of great humility. And I think this film, insofar as what it tries to address is, bold, it also does so by illustrating the humility and of the project that they're undertaking, and our role with, sort of the planet. And in that respect, I really like the last sequence. When we're back on Earth, because I think it could have gone another way. There was one of the interviews that I read about this was where Boyle had said, you could have made this a disaster movie, right? Mm-hmm. And it would have been pretty easy, in his words, to make this a disaster movie. You just put a couple of people back on Earth that have some connection to the people on the ship, and suddenly you have a disaster movie. Instead, he really chose not to, because this was, insofar as this was a story about these guys trying to save the Earth, it was a story more about their character and, as you say, the journey up the river.
Yeah.
Yet, I think the choice to cut back to, which they didn't, I don't think he had to do, the choice to cut back to the snow-covered Earth.
Yeah, the Kappa's, snow-covered Sydney.
Yeah, snow-covered Sydney. That's right. It gave it some heart,
Yeah.
Even though everybody dies, the film is still able to end with some heart.
Yeah, everybody on the ship dies.
Right, on the ship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful end. It really is. And, just the fact that you have Kappa's message to his sister at that moment, in a way, it's almost like his spirit lives on or something, spiritual like that. And speaking of the ending, since we went straight to the end, the moment between Kappa, right after he successfully detonates the bomb, or triggers it, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And you have that moment where all of a sudden, like, the sun rushes in and then holds right in front of him. And, because all of this really is happening in like a billionth of a second. But like they've said, nobody really knows what would happen at that level of the sun because of how fast you're moving and the gravity and just everything going on. I mean, time is going to be distorted, all of this sort of stuff that's happening. So it's like a billionth of a second that this moment happens where the whole thing goes. But he's got this moment where the wall of the sun comes in, and it's a beautiful shot where you see little tiny Kappa with his hand raised up to touch the sun on the left side of the screen. And then behind him on the right side of the screen is the inside of the bomb and the science. And you see all the particles, kind of detonating and splitting, all the atoms splitting and everything on the right. And it's this beautiful image of nature and science coming together, and man is right in between them. And it's just, it's such a beautiful image. And it really talks about that connection that we have as scientific minded as we are. Nature is still an element that is made up of science, but it also has this beauty, and there's also this amazing beauty in the science. I mean, it's like this amazing balance between nature and science, and how they both are one, even though they are different. And I can't get enough of that ending. It is such a perfect ending for the film.
It is a perfect ending. I think you that sequence, and the one I think, to jump back to our conversation about how each of these characters sort of yearning for the color and the heat and the brightness, when it cuts from him reaching up to actually being enveloped by the flames, there's a shot on his face as his mouth is open, and you are seeing from the perspective inside the flame, as if you are about to absorb Kappa, and he doesn't appear to be in pain. It's just being enveloped. And I felt like that in so many ways is kind of the it's the punchline to this beautiful joke that they started in the very first act, that was just really rewarding for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Visually, at least.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, and emotionally, I think it's emotionally just rewarding. I mean, just seeing that look on his face, it's just, it really, everything that, a scientist and a human wants, it's just like that connection with nature and that understanding and that amazement. That's really what I see in his face, is just like that awe, that this thing before him.
Yeah. There's something else about this movie that kind of gets me that they deal with, and is that look at what we are capable of doing when we are no longer afraid, or when we have accepted that we are going to die. And they deal with this a little bit as the co-pilot. What is his Troy Garrity as Harvey, right?
Yeah.
He is really struggling and as second in command. No, he didn't go over to the Icarus. Who was it who went over to the Icarus? Who? Searle? No, it wasn't Searle. It was the one who said, "Oh, I get it. You think I'm going to die."
It was Harvey.
It was Harvey. Okay, yeah. So they said that. So he's having real trouble, and he's trying to order Kappa to get out of the heat suit. He's you can tell he's really struggling with the fact that he doesn't want to die. He's not made that leap. And things don't end up ending well for him. But Searle has a very, you see one after another, from Kaneda to Searle to these characters who, and particularly Mace, I think, who's made that decision again and again, who are able to do incredible things as a result of their acceptance that they're going to die, and their project, in this case, is so much bigger than they are. And I love that message. It's like that aspirational message of living without fear. I think it's such a powerful thing.
Yeah, and it is interesting seeing the different ways that people react to that acceptance that they have to have. And I think Harvey is an interesting case in point where clearly he doesn't want to accept that because, he misses his family
right
back home or whatever it is. He's so stuck on that he does not want to acknowledge the fact, like he's the one who's holding on to like the communications tower, that the fact that it's going to get destroyed when they rotate the ship a little bit, so that the captain and Kappa can go work on the shields. And
right.
He's always thinking about getting back to Earth. He's not as focused on the mission as everyone else is.
Right.
Yeah.
And that I think is his role sort of in the character wheel is really clear and provides interesting contrast to all these other people who you sort of get the feeling that when they left Earth probably knew they were pretty much done.
I feel like when they left Earth, they probably felt pretty confident, like, yeah, we're going to go drop this thing in, because the ship is designed to send the bomb to the sun
and then home.
Head home. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody jumps on it going, all right, we're going to go do this and die. And, but you never know. They could. And I think...
No, I just think that there is at some point on the trip, and maybe we see that for every character, maybe, going into the film, as we start the film's timeline, we don't actually see that, but, or we don't, they hadn't come to that, assertion, but it's pretty early on where you start seeing some of those as they start getting bad news,
mm-hmm.
One news report after another that things are going south.
Yeah,
and they start having to make some really difficult choices. That they're each coming to terms with the fact that they're not coming home.
It's interesting. There's a book that Danny Boyle had read. I think Alex Garland, who wrote the script, had also read it. That they both really felt very interesting in the psychological look at astronauts, and I believe Danny Boyle gave it to all the actors and had them read it. It's called Moondust. By Andrew Smith, and it's actually interviews with the surviving astronauts who from the Apollo missions, and talking about life after, where do you go after you've been to the moon, and really kind of looking at how their life has changed since they have been off of our planet and they have had a chance to actually go out to space, and how has that changed the way that they think and the way that they react to things going on in the world. So because it's a fascinating psychology, and they were saying there's two points that I want to bring up. One was one of the Russian cosmonauts had said something like, if you lock up 2 to 3 men in a confined space for months on end, you've created the perfect situation for murder. Which I think probably is true. Just trying to deal with each other in a confined space for a long period of time is very difficult. And then the other thing that they said is on these Apollo missions, there was, I believe, the way it works, and I am unfortunately not an astronaut, and I'm not horribly scientific as far as that goes, but I believe the way it works. I know. I'm sorry I ruined that for you.
That's kind of what you brought to the table.
But I believe the way it works is that when one of these Apollo lunar missions would go up, one of the astronauts would stay in the little ship up above while the little lunar lander with the other astronauts would go down and land, and they would play around on the moon.
Yeah.
This one astronaut who was up in the ship would be orbiting the moon all by himself. And that person said it was the most lonely and the most distant that they've ever felt. When they circle the moon and they're on the dark side of the moon, they have no communication with anyone in the world, and they're the farthest person away from the planet at that point in time. And it's like, I can't remember how, it was like 12 minutes or something that trip lasts on the dark side of the moon before they gain communication again. But just thinking about that, I mean, if you really sit and think about what would that be like. You can only imagine what sort of games being in space plays in your head.
You can imagine he's just sitting there sharpening a stick. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Like, not only is he really alone, he's the dude who didn't get to go down on the moon. Like, who's the guy who volunteers for that, right?
I know.
Wait. So, no one small step. I'm the guy without the small step.
Right.
Really? We are coming up to the end of the hour. Do you have your one more thing, or shall we start talking about budgets and flick charting?
I have so many lists of things to talk about.
I know, I do too.
For this one,
I know.
Okay, so just a few little facts about the sun that I thought were interesting.
This is the science part of our show.
I know.
I didn't see this coming.
I didn't either, but I found it interesting. Do you know that 1 million Earths can fit in the sun? 1 million.
That is a lot of Earths.
That is a lot of Earths. The sun's surface is 6,000 degrees Celsius.
So it's warmer than...
It's definitely hot. Yeah. And it's burning 600 million tons of fuel per second. And it loses 4 million tons of mass every second as it's burning all of that fuel. That's all that energy, which is essentially sunshine, which is coming out at us, which I just found really fascinating. Because you don't think about sunshine as being this powerful force of energy, but really it is these tons of mass that are burning and shooting off of the sun that keeps us alive. But I don't know, something about that just really struck me as far as like the name of this film, Sunshine, and just really what it means. And the nature of sun and us, essentially what Pinbacker is saying, how really all of us are nothing more than stardust, which is really true.
Right. And when they're walking around the Icarus, the one that stuck with me is the 80% of dust is human skin.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Yeah. Everyone on the commentaries was laughing about how much dust is really on that ship. Yeah. And how really there's no way there's that much on those 7 people.
Exactly. How many people actually evaporated on that ship to create an inch of dust on every surface?
I know, that was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to say, now I lost it. Alex Garland, who wrote this script, the reason that he was drawn to write this idea of this script was he came across this I don't know if it's an article or a book, something that he read that was talking about how our universe is in this expanding state right now, and it's expanding faster and faster, and it's just going to keep expanding. And because of that, everything, all life is going to end. There is never going to be a way for it to continue the way things are going. And I mean, it's going to be a very long time. It's not like it's happening next Thursday at noon.
As far as you know.
As far as I know. I didn't pick that for any particular reason. But he got really depressed about this. And he felt really what's the point of all of this? And I think it was a way to kind of get through that he ended up writing this script, coming up with a way to kind of create meaning out of this kind of horrible feeling that he had about the universe being pointless. And I just found it really interesting in the context of our series here, original screenplays, the nature of tapping into something that is just absolutely honest scientific evidence, and using that to come up with a story that only takes place 50 years in the future, and making this amazing science fiction film that really deals with the nature and the science and the blend between the two, and where we come from and where we're going, and just the nature of man and everything. And I'm amazed the way that writers can find an element like that they can tap into, that gives them an amazing opportunity to create an amazing piece of art.
We should say Alex Garland is responsible for some other in-depth looks at sort of life and science as the author, or as the writer of 28 Days Later and Dread.
Mm-hmm.
I know both of which sort of deal with the kind of reality of the end of the world scenario in very much the same way as Sunshine.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Just had to get that in there, didn't you?
A little bit. A little bit. I kind of wanted to see where you would go with it, and you took it. You were dead serious. It was not as much fun as I'd hoped it to be.
I wasn't going to let it be.
No,
let you take me there.
That was well played. That was well played. We should say that the movie did not do very well in the box office, but
yeah, the movie really did not do well.
It's funny because it's I still say it's a absolutely brilliant film, and I think everybody needs to add this to their original science fiction collection. It doesn't appear to have that same sort of momentum of cult film, like cult favorite.
No, it doesn't.
It seems like
I mean, yeah, from what I saw domestically for DVDs, it's only made about $6.5 million, and that's just, it's not doing that well.
Yeah. So
it cost about $40 million to make. Domestically, well, worldwide, it only made $32 million.
Ugh.
And with the domestic DVD sales of $6.5 million, it still hasn't broken even, which is really a shame because they couldn't get Hollywood to fund it. They managed to get some British companies to fund it, and they got the whole thing made in England, and then it still ended up being a bomb. I feel horrible for them because it is really a fantastic film that really should have done better.
I absolutely agree. I think it is a fantastic film, and I mean, I don't know. From here, Danny Boyle goes on to Slumdog Millionaire, so at least he was able to work again, and
he got to work with the Queen shortly, a few years after that.
Yeah, yes, he did. And so he's, obviously, but this is interestingly, it took me, I don't know, I can't, looking at his filmography, there are no movies in here that I really didn't like.
Well, there's one I definitely didn't like.
The Beach.
Two I definitely didn't like.
A Life Less Ordinary and The Beach.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, those are the two.
I liked A Life Less Ordinary. It had a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it just really was nonsense, though.
Persnickety.
I am. What can I say?
So let's
wait. No.
One more thing. There's one. I just had one more thing. You go first.
There's a couple more things.
Okay.
One, I think the cast list is small. I just want to read the cast because there's some people we didn't mention that we should have. Cillian Murphy certainly as Cap was great. Chris Evans, who was fantastic, Captain America. I shouldn't say he's fantastic. He's
mostly because he was Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four, that's right.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh, who was wonderful in this as the botanist, and Rose Byrne, the lovely Rose Byrne as the pilot. Troy Garrity, Hiroyuki Sanada, who is fantastic as Kaneda in this. Benedict Wong, and Mark Strong as the freaky, blurry pinbacker.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cliff Curtis as Searle.
Yep.
So wonderful cast all around. I loved the international feel of it, and I loved how it wasn't cast with like one big star and a bunch of kind of supporting actors. It really was across the board just a bunch of great actors who none of them at this point I would say were probably like A-list actors. Chris Evans, I suppose you could now argue is as Captain America,
right? But in 2007.
Fantastic Four didn't really make him the A-list actor at that point.
No. He had done... Yeah, there was nothing really in there prior to Sunshine. It was... that's one of the things I really like about it, and I feel bad. We should mention Cillian Murphy as Kappa just because he... I take him for granted. As excellent in just about everything he does, whether it's Scarecrow to Kappa to Train Spotting. He's just great.
He really is great in everything that he does, and I really enjoy watching him. Was he in Train Spotting though?
No, I was looking.
You're thinking of 28 Days Later?
I was looking at 28 Days Later. I was looking at Ewan McGregor as I said it.
Gotcha.
And so yeah,
you threw me for a minute.
I did. No, I'm sorry, but 28 Days Later. I mean, that's where I feel like I met him. Was in 28 Days Later, and we've already obviously talked about that, but
yeah.
Okay.
But it is a stellar cast. They really could not have picked a better group of people to work together.
Right. Okay, now can we flick chart it?
Yeah, well, I guess so. Talk for a second, though.
Okay, you should go to flickchart.com/thenextreel because that's where you can see how we rank. And we try to collaboratively in a team-like fashion through discussion, constructive discussion, and no belittling or judgment. We try to come to some agreement on where each of the films that we discuss, both on the next reel and in the film board, belongs in our overall ranking. So if you go to flickchart.com/thenextreel, you can see our entire ranking of every film we've ever done. This should be, what, 78? 76,
Yes, we're getting up there.
78?
We're at 70. This will be 78, yes.
78. So number 78.
Mm-hmm.
Did I vamp long enough for you? Are you ready to go?
I am ready. Yeah,
All right.
Yes.
You were going to go ahead. You have a disclaimer. Go ahead. What is it?
No, it wasn't a disclaimer.
Okay.
It's something else. I'll tell you afterward.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes, that's
All right.
right.
Go for it.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Oh, I'm right. Are you kidding?
Sunshine or Looper?
Sunshine.
I agree. Sunshine or Zero Dark 30?
I hate it when they come up really early
I
in the
know.
ranking because it really defines the rest of the movies it'll be ranked against. I hate that.
Yeah. I have
because
to go Zero Dark 30.
I would say Zero Dark 30.
Absolutely. Sunshine or Adaptation?
Sunshine.
Really?
Yeah. Would you like to collaborate?
Let's let's collaborate.
All right.
Let's stop.
Collaborate
and
and listen. You idiots. Who are these idiots? Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know. I'm really torn between the two. I just feel Charlie Kaufman had such an amazing concept with the way that he structured the script for adaptation. To me, it is an absolutely amazing exercise in writing and the way that a writer can create a wholly unique script that had never been seen before. I really like adaptation, and it's awesome. I totally derailed there.
Well,
Sorry.
maybe I don't have a whole lot of sort of fire in the belly on this one. I think that to me, while I absolutely agree with you, I love adaptation. I will, when I think about which movie I'm going to put on first, which movie I get that sort of just sort of that kind of dead rush from, it's going to be Sunshine over adaptation.
Well, and I think for me, the reason I would probably go adaptation is because, aside from the fact that the film is just such a fantastically interesting structure and everything, it's the ending of Sunshine that I struggle with. The camera work, I just feel like I wish that Danny Boyle had made a different decision there.
Well, and to your point, I think when Act 3 goes bonkers in adaptation, it ends up doing so in a way that is sort of structured to fit within the overall kind of construction of the film, and I appreciate that. It's not something you necessarily like or don't like. It was non-accidental.
It's designed. It's a
designed
twist.
Chaos.
It's a twist that comes into the third act, but it's been set up for you.
Yeah.
And Danny Boyle had no setup at all for what he did with Pinbacker.
He was a violator, a betrayer. All right. I'm gonna give you adaptation on this. I'm excited about that. See how that worked? That was great.
What collaboration? Sunshine or The Bourne Identity? I do Sunshine.
Over The Bourne Identity. Okay. Yeah, I would too.
Okay. Sunshine or The Bourne Ultimatum?
Oh, Sunshine.
I will agree with you there. Sunshine or The Descent?
Oh, we're going up or we're going down?
That's right.
That's another one. Kick in the face or a kick in the crotch?
Oh, boy.
I'm going to say, wow, that's really hard.
They're both.
Here's the thing about The Descent. It's that we get a similar kind of epic journey, but I love the fact that it's a cast of all women. I think that gives a horror film dramatically different tone. And it's a unique strength that we see in the third act, and I love that. But wow.
I know. That's a tricky one.
What are you going to say? Let's say at the same time. 1, 2, 3, The Descent.
The Descent, yeah.
You cheated.
I did. All right, we're done. Number 32 out of 78.
All right, I like it.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. You go, Sunshine. No cult favorites here. 32 doesn't get you in the running for cult favorite.
Nope.
All right. Hey, this was awesome. What are we doing next week? Now we have two more in our original sci-fi series for 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about have you finished the cost per minute thing? We haven't talked about that in a while.
I did for Sunshine?
For Sunshine, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it was on there, but
yeah. It lost $73,791 per minute. Oh, it's just sad.
That's so not funny.
It's not.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Okay, so the next film it looks like we're doing after Sunshine. We're going to hit Moon.
That's right. We're going from the sun to the moon.
I am very very much looking forward to Moon. It stars one of my very favorite actors,
Kevin Spacey. Sorry.
Sam Rockwell. I love Sam Rockwell, and beautifully, it stars a lot of Sam Rockwell.
It really, really does.
Sort of revolves around Sam Rockwell.
If he didn't perform well in that film, it would never have worked.
It was an ambitious film to put him in it at that point. I love it. I'm very excited to talk about it. And so that's another in our original sci-fi series. Then we'll wrap it up the week after, and then we get into something else because our entire yearly schedule is now completely thrown.
It is. We got to do some reworking.
But this is a great series. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else? We got to get out of here.
I don't.
All right.
I feel I have all these things that I still want to say, but I feel like if I do, I just won't stop. So
I know
it'll be a 3-hour show.
We got to show some restraint.
We may as well just stop now.
Well, you know what? Let's just review it next year again.
I'll keep my notes handy.
Okay, definitely do that.
We did that. Oh, yes. But I wanted to say.
By the way,
last year,
so picking up. So this 1,000,000 Earths. Has that sunk in? 1,000,000 inside the. Never mind. Thank you all to our live listeners. And our dead ones. And our dead ones. Hello to our man Joe Abrera has just commented. He says, "I love it when you actually do movies I love." Apparently, he doesn't listen often. But man, he saw Sunshine. He's in there. I love that you guys are joining us live. Thanks so much for doing it, and we'll catch you next week. I'm out of here. So is Andy.
I'm gonna not go. I'm just gonna stick around, and I'm gonna spout facts about the sun, all by my lonesome. Did you know?
I feel like I need to insert some boots walking toward a door and a squeaky door closing, and you can just keep talking.
Oh man, I'm gonna.
We wanted to take a moment to thank you for your continued support over the years. It's hard to believe that we have been having weekly, in-depth discussions about movies since 2011.
That's right, 12 years and counting. Producing this show is a labor of love for us, but it does require a lot of time and effort each week.
If you enjoy our podcast and would love to help keep it going, there are some easy ways you can show your support. One is by using our Originals page to shop for the original source material that movies we've discussed were based on.
That's right. In Season 1 alone, we covered 13 films adapted from books or plays, from Charlie Kaufman's adaptation to David Fincher adaptations like Fight Club.
In Season 2, we covered even more, like Powell and Pressburger's The Red Shoes and The African Queen from our series about legendary cinematographer Jack Cardiff.
We can't forget about the 4 Jason Bourne movies we talked about. Love those movies. Well, the original trilogy at least.
For our Richard D. Zanuck series, we did Jaws, Rush, Big Fish, and more. And for our horror series, we talked about John Carpenter's The Thing, which was adapted from Who Goes There?
We did our first great car chase series with movies like Bullet, The French Connection, and Drive. And for the holidays, we did Preston Sturgis's Christmas in July.
We had a great John Huston series with adaptations like The Maltese Falcon and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
And for our baseball series, Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Have I told you lately how much I love that movie?
Yeah, I think you have. Plus, our Magician series and Heist film series had adaptations as well.
Tons of page-to-screen gems. Listeners can find the details and links to the original material at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play, or movie you buy through our links helps support the show, and it's no extra cost to you.
So dive in and get your next read today. thenextreel.com/originals has all the films adapted from other sources that not only we have covered, but all of the shows on the Next Reel family of podcasts. Check it out and get reading.
Support the show and build your reading list. It's a win-win. Head to thenextreel.com/originals.